Hey all, Danny Marks here again. I let's see. A question came up in my comment thread yesterday, and I know this is crazy. Like two videos in 2 days. That's unheard of. How did that even happen? But a question came up in my comment thread. A suggestion by David at DP Book Reviews to respond to a few of the labeling videos that people have been talking about. I think Karen at OCD Books and Krista at I wanted to say the cuticle blindness. I'm sorry, it's the cubicle blindness. Although, if Krista, if you had a nail channel, just all about nails, you should call it the cuticle blindness. That would be good. Anyway, so and everyone was kind of like, yeah, I think that would be okay. You know, but I haven't seen any videos on someone who was saying it wasn't okay. That's me. That's my job, I guess. I don't know. You know, and I understand. I understand wanting to know what you're getting into before you pick up a book. I mean, if there are certain things that squick you out and you just don't want to read that stuff, like certain books are like super violent, like probably anything I would write for my adult stuff, and also smutty, but. You know, and that's fine. I mean, people read YA for sort of for a different experience than they would say in an adult book. And I think I'm shaking the video camera, whatever. But there's another part of that. I think that for as an adult discussion of getting a book because we want to, you know, or having a label because we want to make sure that we're getting what we want, you know. And that's just being a smart consumer. But I think that you can get that from reviews. I think that that there are certain inferences about tone and how far the book will go based on the back cover copy or the first page of the book or whatever. And I mean, that stuff's easy enough to read online or wherever, or at the bookstore before you buy it. You know, I think going beyond that into a label territory, and my biggest concern about labels, and I'll just put it out on the front, is who's going to put the label on there? I mean, who's going to do that? You could have sort of an ultra-conservative person who's going to be labeling 50% of the books that come out because they think that the content is questionable. That is the same issue that's been happening in lots of things, in film, in music, whatever. In music, it didn't take on as well as it could have. However, I mean, not as well. I mean, as bad as it could have gone. Because when it first came out, when the in the 80s, when they wanted to put stickers on CDs, and it was primarily because parents wanted to save their kids from the evils of rap. When that happened, there was huge outcry. They were worried that the music stores weren't going to carry those CDs, that it would really impact freedom of speech and, you know, artistic expression and that kind of stuff. Well, luckily the record stores, which of course are all gone now, they didn't. They put those on the shelves anyway. The warning labels were there. They sold them to minors. They didn't give a crap. Good for them. Now, the issue that I have is that warning labels on books could go the way of film. Now, shortly after the records and stuff, record labels put the warning labels and warning stickers, and it was through a different company, looked at the records and said, I don't like the word fuck here. You've got a warning label. As soon as that happened, the MPAA, the rating organization for film, enacted a sort of an adult content rating. And that was it wasn't an R, it was an NC-17. And the problem with it, and it is, I mean, the first movie that came out in theaters I saw in the theater was Henry and June. And it was the story of Henry Miller and Anais Nin and Henry Miller's wife, June, and there was sexual content. Frankly, if that movie were released now, it would be an R. The content is not so graphic that it's distinguishable from R-rated movies now. However, back then, the movie was killed by its NC-17 rating. And nowadays, an NC-17 rated movie, if the MPAA slaps that sticker on there, the movie's dead. You won't be able to see it in the theater. You'll be lucky to see it on DVD. So, I'm worried that that could happen with warning stickers on books, and on YA books particularly. The other thing, this is my psychotherapy background. I was a psychotherapist for 12 years working with children and adolescents and their parents. My big concern is that when sort of the social psyche of our country went to this idea of it takes a village to raise a child, that actually disabled children a bit, because when you have a village, there's a lot more people to blame for when things go wrong. So it sort of, I don't want to say it takes the pressure off the parents, but it does create this situation where the parents can say, can start pointing fingers and say, you didn't put a label on this, or you mislabeled it, or you let my child be bullied. Everything becomes externalized at that point. And we saw this happening. There was this slow sort of degradation of children's abilities to deal with stuff on their own, and more concerning, to being self-sufficient and self-governing of responsibility, which is a big thing. It's going to be your responsibility if you pick up a book and have to deal with its contents or how it's written or whatever. So, if you don't have the tools to be able to process those things, or process how to deal with a bully, or process how to, deal with anything, really, that's the issue. You need the skill building and the tools to deal with those things. So, before I would say, let's label stuff, I would say, let's give kids the tools to deal with whatever could possibly be in that book. If the tool is, I'm going to close it when I get to a portion that I don't care for, then so be it. It's not something, that's it. That's basically my take on it. I worry about who's going to be labeling it, and I worry about the fact that labeling takes away self-governing responsibility. And I think that the back cover blurb should suffice. It should suffice. You should be able to get a picture of it, of what the book's going to be. And I have yet to read anything in a YA book that I felt was questionable. But that's not true. That's not true. However, I'm not going to point out what I thought was questionable. But, I think that as long as something is written well, any subject that could possibly happen to a child, or a teen in this case, I think it's fair game. And I don't think it needs to be pointed out in any other sense than to have an intellectual discussion about it. That's about it. That's all I got. I definitely like to continue the discussion in the comment thread. So go ahead and leave me a comment and we'll go from there. By the way, this was the second time that I recorded this video. The first time turned into this crazy ass rant where I just sort of went off. And not that I'm so disagreeable about it. If at some point labels went on to books, it wouldn't bother me in the slightest, because I don't give a crap. So I would be buying whatever I want to buy anyway. But I just think there's better ways to do it than to slap a sticker. So anyway, let's talk.